Welcome to This Explainer. Today, I want you to think of me as your seasoned financial coach. We're stepping into the film room to review the game tape of two identical careers. Literally, two players who ran the exact same plays out there on the field, but somehow ended up with wildly different scores at the final buzzer. One of them walks away with this incredibly comfortable victory, and the other, well, he's left scrambling in overtime. We're going to break down the exact math of how your good intentions can silently bankrupt your future.
$1.4 million. I really want to hit you right out of the gate with this staggering number. Think about that for a second. This isn't some crazy lottery jackpot, and it definitely isn't a massive inheritance. This is the very real financial gap, hiding quietly right now in the monthly budget between two coworkers who earn the exact same salary.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, picture this. First, we have Jake. He's 67 years old, still sitting at his desk, just staring at a spreadsheet in sheer panic. He's suddenly realizing that even if he works until he's 72, the math simply might not work out. Now compare that to his coworker, Marcus. Marcus just sent out his retirement announcement. He's sitting on a paid-off house, well over $1 million in his 401k, and he's already got a 2-month trip to Portugal booked. And listen to me carefully here. This is absolutely not a story about luck. It's not about who picked the hottest tech stock. It is entirely about behavioral defaults. Okay, let's roll the game tape all the way back to the beginning to see where this started. Act 1, the setup and the delay. Let's look at age 25. Both of our players enter the workforce making a very respectable $80,000 salary. But notice the massive psychological difference right off the bat. Marcus decided early on he wanted a specific number to aim for. He crunched the numbers and realized he needed a 15% savings rate. But crucially, and this is a real game changer, Marcus didn't trust his own willpower. None of us should. So he engineered his finances by automating that 15% contribution before the money ever even touched his checking account. Jake, on the other hand, well, he fell right into the wait-and-see trap. He had great intentions. He planned to save aggressively, but he told himself, you know what, I'll wait until my car's paid off. Then it was, I'll wait until the kids are out of school, and then I'll wait for this home renovation to finish. Because of all those little delays, Jake basically just settled for the national average savings rate, which is a measly 3.6%. He felt like he was doing the right thing because he saw some money moving into his 401k, but that feeling substituted for actual math. And here is the brutal mathematical cost of Jake's good intentions, $870,000. Yep. By starting at 25 and investing just $1,000 a month at an 8% return, Marcus grew his portfolio to a staggering $1.6 million by age 65. Jake? He didn't start saving meaningfully until he was 35. That 10-year delay alone, literally just 10 years of waiting to get serious, cost Jake nearly $1 million. And remember, guys, they worked the exact same job for the exact same company. All right, let's fast forward the tape into their 40s. You know, the messy middle of life. Act 2, the cost of good intentions. Now this right here is where the game is truly won or lost. Unexpected expenses happen to all of us, right? So let's look at a super common midlife hurdle, a sudden massive roof leak. Jake got hit with the leak and decided to just pull $20,000 directly out of his 401k. In his mind, hey, he was just taking his money, right? What he totally failed to realize was that he wasn't just losing 20 grand today. He was completely destroying his compounding interest. He effectively lost the $200,000 that money would have grown into by the time he retired. Plus, he essentially invited his silent partner, the IRS, to come in and take an early cut through penalties. Now, Marcus faced the exact same leaky roof. But Marcus had built a moat around his investments. Instead of touching his retirement funds, he utilized a home equity line of credit, or a HELOC. He protected his compounding machine at absolutely all costs. Moving right along, we enter Act 3, the illusion of safety. Honestly, as a coach, this part of the tape just drives me crazy. We are shifting our focus to the hidden wealth killers. Those feel-good financial decisions society tells you are so responsible, but mathematically, they're totally holding you back. Let's talk about the opportunity cost of home equity. Jake chose a 15-year mortgage because he desperately wanted to save on interest and own his home sooner. It was a totally emotional need for safety. But Marcus, actually running the math, went with a 30-year mortgage. Did he pay a higher interest rate on paper? Yes, for sure. But Marcus took the difference in the monthly payment between that 15-year and 30-year loan, and he invested it straight into a brokerage account. Mathematically, Marcus's strategy of keeping his liquidity and capturing higher market returns completely crushed Jake's emotional strategy. Marcus built real wealth, Jake just built equity that he couldn't easily spend at the grocery store. And this starkly highlights the lifestyle gap between these two. Now, you might be thinking, oh, Marcus must have lived like a monk to get that $1.4 million advantage. No way. He didn't. He was just incredibly systematic. When Marcus got a promotion, he didn't run out and buy a new car. He just let his savings rate creep up. He banked his promotions. Jake, unfortunately, was a total victim of lifestyle creep. He adjusted his lifestyle upward to match every single dollar he earned. Because of that, Jake limped into his late 60s, carrying rigid mortgage obligations and credit card debt, expenses that his fixed retirement income was literally never designed to handle.
Which brings us to the ultimate silent wealth killer, inflation. Jake calculated his retirement needs based on today's prices. He looked at his budget and thought, oh, $100,000 a year is plenty. He completely ignored the economic reality of inflation. At a really modest 3% inflation rate, the cost of living doubles every 24 years. You absolutely cannot plan your future using today's price tags. So here is Jake's ultimate nightmare playing out in real time. He was heavily counting on a fixed $2,000 monthly pension. Now, at age 65, sure, it buys $2,000 worth of goods. But by the time Jake is 89, that exact same $2,000 will only have the purchasing power of $1,000. Inflation brutally slices his fixed income right in half. This is exactly why Marcus focused purely on his after-tax value and market growth. Marcus knew you don't spend a gross balance, you spend what the government actually lets you keep, and you have to outpace inflation if you want to survive.
All right, time out. Below the whistle, I'm calling the team in. It's time for the locker room speech, where we go over your wait and see checklist. We've watched the tape, we've seen exactly where Jake stumbled, and now I want to give you a diagnostic framework for your own life. I want you to ask yourself honestly, right now, today, if you are committing these default errors. Are you waiting for major life events, like a car payoff, before you start aggressively saving? Are you adjusting your lifestyle upward every time you get a raise? Are you treating your 401k like an emergency piggy bank? Are you ignoring inflation and taxes when you map out your future numbers? And finally, are you making emotional mortgage choices instead of mathematically sound ones? Because if you are checking these boxes, you are running Jake's playbook. So the absolutely crucial point I want to leave you with today is this final question. Are you just trusting that things will somehow work out, or are you actually doing the math? Because let me tell you, as a coach who has seen this over and over and over again, things rarely work out by default. The $1.4 million mistake isn't a lack of income. It's a lack of a system. Default behaviors fail, but math usually works out if you finally sit down and calculate your number. Stop waiting, stop seeing, start doing the math. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I strongly urge you to audit your playbook today.